At this point for me, freedom is the ability to express one's real self. It's even, this whole idea that we got to go get freedom, we got to fight freedom, we got to da 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 da. For me, at this point, freedom is something to be accepted. If you're free, it's because you act free. If you're free, it's because you behave free. You carry yourself in the way that free men carry themselves, free women carry themselves. If that means that your freedom runs up against someone who wants to oppress it, you deal with it the way a free person does.
Ebon and barbaric hieroglyphs, I spit my gifts, shifting surface with vernacular skill. The rawest nip, touching down like meteors, none other than black gods. Stones in my timepiece coming from black stars. Negativity keep far away from doors. Single-mindedly destroying the ops and the odds. Just another warrior's quest. The past may get rest. Demons coming for my crown, get beheaded like the next. These blessings never threats, just to verbalize a message, catching energies of critics, all the Atari get deaded. Pray I stay alert on the field, be skillmatic in anything my enemies deal. Be dead actions, I proceed just life I lead beneath it. So many seas when it's our time to align stars, so spirits lead. Who could war with me, catastrophically or audibly? Given no choice by God's law, I'm Lucifer on streets.
All right. Peace and power. Once again, this is Panther 48. This is Brother Sight coming straight out of Texas. I got Brother War with me coming out of California.
Hope all the people, family.
Brother War is the Chief of Staff for the People's Black Panther Party and the Chairman of the San Diego chapter of the Black Panther Party. I got Brother E, the Smoking Minister of Information, coming out of Florida.
We're by way of Nairobi, Kenya. That's right.
And we got a special guest today. We got a good brother of mine, a brother that I consider to be extremely insightful, and we're gonna build with the brother a little bit on some of his works and his background. We got Brother Pharaoh coming out of Dallas, Texas.
Hey, peace, bro.
Peace.
Oh, this is Pharaoh, the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
The Pharaoh, you was on vacation with Pharaoh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We was enjoying that sun together. Yeah.
All right. Good to meet you, bro.
Hey, peace, man. Good to meet y'all, man. I heard so much about y'all through the years, man. You know what I'm saying? When we was in the belly of the beast, he talked a lot about y'all, man. I mean, it's like I knew y'all before I saw y'all, before I saw who y'all was. Yeah.
We've heard your name back and forth ever since this man got back.
Yeah, man. About Brother Sight, man, I want to say since I met him, since the first time I actually met him by hearing about him, because on the unit that we was on at the time, you know, I just made myself to be aware of everything that was going on, and especially in the conscious world. But brothers always talked about Sight in his building, man, and he was always highly respected, you know, always highly respected, knowledgeable, and his level of discipline always radiate from his, you know, from his aura. You know, everybody knew that there was something different about him, you know. And then there was always, you know, as Brother Sight began to build up his students and, you know, start building, you know, and developing minds on the unit. And I was already developing minds on the unit. You know, the idea was always, man, those two brothers come together, man, it's gonna be a problem. And that's exactly what happened. You know, so we was able to establish a beautiful thing, man, in a place where it was deemed to be impossible. So, yeah, man, that's I appreciate the brother also, man. He gave me a lot, you know what I'm saying, to add on to what I have. And you know, when you've been reading and building and studying for a while, you know, it's only a few people that can give you something, man, and I got a lot from it. You know what I'm saying? And I have to pay homage to him and also to y'all, because every time he talk about what he got, it always come with talking about Brother War or Brother E. So, you know, just to salute that.
Please, brother. I
Most
appreciate
definitely
that.
we do. Now that you done pumped up Psych, we know this cat. We don't want to hear nothing else about Psych. Man, Psych's great. Ooh, yeah, rah. We all on the Psych show, whatever. What we want to know is, since you are our special guest tonight, like, yeah, I'm hijacking the show, whatever. I don't care. It later. What we really want to know is something about your journey. And a little bit of a bio so we can get more into what, your thought process, the things you think, what you saw in there, coming out, all of that type of stuff. But to start us off, just kind of tell us a little bit of a bio. And I don't mean like, I was born a sharecropper's son in 1939 in Alabama, not that far back, but some of the highlights and you go as deep and as provocative as you feel comfortable doing. I mean, you know what I mean? Whatever it is you want to reveal, whatever it is you want to share, put it out there. This is no holds barred. I don't know if Psych never said anything, or you've probably seen the show, so it really ain't no rules as far as what you got to say. So I mean, just kind of tell who is Pharaoh. I don't know you. Who is you?
Right. Well, peace, 165135, man. That's peace in mathematical terminologies. My name is Pharaoh. My attribute is Supreme Justice Allah. I got that attribute, building in the circle of the 5 percenters where I was enlightened in prison back in 1993. My story will pretty much start out, man, just being an average Black man, a child being raised up in the ghetto, man, and going through the struggle of, what happens when you with a single Black mom in West Dallas projects. You're experiencing everything, you're seeing everything, and in doing that, I struggled, man, I didn't struggle, I don't want to say I struggled, but, being in that environment, in the upbringing that I was brought up in, man, just like most young Black men, I was a victim to crime and violence, you know what I'm saying? I was inducted into that world, and inducted to that world, man, I just, that's what I did to survive, at the early age of like 12, 13, and 14. And in doing that, I've been in and out incarceration before prison. Before I went to the penitentiary in 1991, I went through foster homes, TYC, CCD, youth village, them are the baby prisons. And I have to kind of put this out to kind of give you an idea of, my journey in prison, But talking about that, man, in 1991, I got a case, a violent case. I won't say what it did, but it wasn't no child molestation or nothing like that. But I got into some rival dope dealers from out of town, man. One thing led to another. I ended up getting out 30 years for murder and attempted murder. So I went to prison when I was 17. So, and when I went to prison when I was 17 years old, I went to the Ferguson unit. And when I got to the Ferguson unit, it's a trip because everybody that was, when you first get to a unit, everybody's kind of shaky about what's going on. Not that you think you're gonna get took, but if you ain't never been to the penitentiary before, you got these thoughts running through your mind. But crazy for me, not to toot my own horn, I done been incarcerated, being in TYC and all this. The first thing I saw that the major characters that was running the unit that had a name, they was in TYC with me. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I really didn't have that same struggle or, level of testings that a lot of people would have when they first go to prison.
So those guys that you was in TYC with, basically y'all was already friends and already had that young. Right?
Yeah, I just say like me and Bernard Davis was cool out here because we was in TYC together. And Bernard Davis' nephew is Baby Cash. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Baby Cash got an army on Ferguson unit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as soon as I walk through the door, you know what I'm saying? They all at the gate, man, what's up? You know, so when you see, when the other dudes see, that was like, man, well, who is this guy? You know, these OGs is saluting at the door. You know, they don't know. But it's stuff, situations like that. You know what I'm saying? But
hey, hold on 1 minute, Pharaoh. I just want to stop you because I know I'm looking at E over there and he's looking extremely confused. So I'm gonna give you a little history right quick, E. I'm being funny. Okay. I'm gonna give you a little history right quick, E. Now,
I'm looking at my face.
I know you missed something. See, for somebody that come from your world, the name Baby Cash wouldn't mean anything. You like, what Baby Cash? They must have a little bit of money. That's what you probably think.
Really?
But
really?
in the gang world, Baby Cash is like considered like a living legend essentially. Dude been in prison forever, from TYC, all that, from the charges he caught. But he's considered, in Dallas, Texas, he's considered the founder of Trey 57 Graveyard Crips. And a lot of dudes that are basically Crips, Trey 57 Crips, or Trey 57 Crips in Dallas because of this guy. So this guy got a name in the streets and he has a name in prison. But I just wanted to fill E in on that because I know E don't know that type of history. So go ahead.
Well, tell me then what is a Crip again? Yeah,
I got to pick on you a little bit.
But anyway, man, just some even brothers that was I'm naming some stuff. Most people, if you're in my age category in Dallas, you know about it, like brother named Anthony that started the Yo Dogs. All of these dudes that was, people wondered like, what happened to them? Yeah, they was over there on Ferguson unit, Beto or somewhere in prison. So anyway, man, to get down to my journey in prison, man, and my enlightenment, it just, after going down there and being in the fields, picking cotton, and just seeing the average everyday Negro-minded stuff that goes on in prison. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's the worst, grossest mentality you can think about, when you think about the way dudes, operate in prison. It's the bottom of the bottom. It's the underworld. It's the underground world of the underground world, And one of those things that I think I started my journey by just saying after a couple of years, I think it was around by 1994, I wanted to be better. I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to do something or be better than what I had been doing. And that was that inner desire to want to be better and seeing that there's more to me than what I've been doing in the past. I just, so from that point, man, I ran into a brother in a food service, food service department. I was working in food service and the brother wanted some chicken. I was cooking chicken on the grill for the unit, for the population. And brother name was You God. And that became my enlightener. And through him, I was inducted into the Nation of God's Nerve, the 5 Percenters and the teachings of the 5 Percenters. And doing that, man, I was and building with him and learning the power of knowledge, of enlightening yourself and tapping into the divine being inside you and doing the mental applications and building the supreme mathematics and alphabet at about 18 years old, man. That just blew my mind up, man. That just set me on fire to learn and want to improve. So I started building with other brothers, man. Just my theory was, man, that and it goes back to what me and Psych talk about with freedom. Freedom and freeing the mind in order to have a better life and be a better person. And manifest something that's good for yourself, your family, and the struggle, man. You have to gain knowledge, And knowledge for me, man, that was the thing that really lifted me up. You know, that's what the thing that really put me on another level. When I became a lover of knowledge, and I fell in love with books and reading and studying and becoming aware of so many things about us and, you know what I'm saying, about the world, man, and being able to teach and build with it. So, you know, from that point, man, y'all can stop at any time and ask questions. You know what I'm saying? You can stop me at any time and ask me to go back, break, you know what I'm saying, break something down, or if I didn't explain something, or skip over something. But I started building.
I want to ask a question. You brought up the chicken for some reason. You said the dude came through and he wanted some chicken. What was over this story? It almost seemed like you was supposed to bring a story out of that, or the conversation with the chicken would have had some kind of importance to it or something.
No, it was just funny to me because the brother was like, you know, you know, he worked out on, I was a cook, he worked out on the floor. You know how it is, they don't want people on the floor to have food before it was done. So he sneaked by there with his bucket and wanted some chicken, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, what I'm gonna get out of it? You know what I'm saying? He said, I'm gonna give you some math. And I said, math? You know, and it was a joke, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, you gonna give me some math? What, you gonna give me some math problems? What? You know? But yeah. I seen him before I talked to him. I just went on and gave the dude some chicken, man. And it's probably the best thing that I've done since. Anyway, but
and he ended up giving you the math.
Yeah, what happened was when I got back on it, because we was on the same building too, we was on the same block, and he started building with me, you know what I'm saying, and giving me the lessons and helping me break down knowledge of self, you know what I'm saying, break down the divine being within inside of me, you know, showing and proving, you know, who we are as far as being the fathers of civilization, you know what I'm saying, and all the things that the deep, you know, just the keys, man, to open your mind and unlock yourself and look into the deeper meanings of esoteric teachings and learnings, and, you know, just explode, man, on knowledge. But, you know, like I was telling Psych, man, once you learn and once you learn and you become conscious, man, you can't be still. You got to do something, you know. And like I say, what we started to do, we began to build on the unit, man. We was building circles and ciphers. I had cipher, meaning I had a circle of brothers that I was building with. And when I say building, we was, you know, learning from books. We was ordering books, studying certain business course. We were studying Afrocentric studies as far as Black history, the history of Mali, West Africa, studied different inventions, studied Chinese business tactics, studied nonprofit organization, business, whatever, you know. And in our circle, there was always somebody that was, you know, that was like key on one topic, that was what he mastered. He mastered this and we mastered that. So, you know, it became like a little renaissance on the unit, you know, from all the nonsense brothers were doing to want to, you know, to learn and try to develop themselves. Because, you know, in our circle, we kind of had this idea of what we wanted to do and what we felt like we was able to become if we enlighten ourselves and better ourselves. And, you know, our icon idea had always been like Malcolm X, you know. The reason why Malcolm X was such a, because he, you know, Malcolm X, just like us, you know, he first went into penitentiary, he was Detroit Red, you know. And after building and studying and learning, you know, what he learned in studying the dictionary and knowing how to apply certain words and speak good and just being enlightened the way that he was, when he got out, he became a useful instrument for the struggle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
So that's kind of like what we seen, you know what I'm saying? prison kind of was like a man-making factory for these intelligent giants, you know.
Pharaoh, real quick, I got a question. So, this is just in regards to you referencing Malcolm X. So, are you also saying that when you God introduced you to the 5% Nation, that the first reference he gave you was Malcolm X, or at what point did that correlation start coming into your awareness when you use Malcolm?
That correlation, I actually read the book on Malcolm X, the Autobiography of Malcolm X. It wasn't like when my enlightenment was enlightened. That was kind of the ideal that I got from the book, the Autobiography of Malcolm X, and understanding how, you know, that was the thing that like really inspired me, you know, because I always heard of Malcolm X, but you know, I hadn't even seen the movie and, you know what I'm saying, anything about, you know, the journey. I just know the Malcolm X that gave the speeches, you know what I'm saying, and was the political hero of the 60s, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really know anything about his background. So when I read the Autobiography of Malcolm X, and I was reading where the brother from the nation that was in prison, that was enlightening him and building with him in his little old journey, I kind of felt like that was like what we were doing, you know? And we could have some of the similar benefits, man, and outcomes that Malcolm X had for us getting out, man, and becoming something that becoming something useful and a benefit to the struggle and to the cause.
And you know,
when you question,
when he used Malcolm, I think Malcolm really resonates with at least I know I for 100% fact I can speak for myself, resonates with people that come from the places that we come from and end up doing time in prison. I even remember I was incarcerated with this brother out of Fort Worth, Crip brother, and we was incarcerated together. When I first got locked up, I was in the county, and so when the book, I let him read the Autobiography of Malcolm X, and when I let the dude, he had never read or even heard about anything conscious, but reading that autobiography and learning who Malcolm used to be before he became Malcolm X, I mean, lit this dude on fire. This dude, I'm talking about, he loved Malcolm. I see the brother on Facebook now with images, he posting images of Malcolm, but he loved it so much, I ended up giving him the book. Cause I mean, that was all he would talk about, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that kind of like what War was asking about Malcolm, that for a lot of brothers, I mean, even brothers, Malcolm is one of E's favorite persons in history. But for a lot of brothers that come from those backgrounds that we come from, I think Malcolm stands as that symbol of like, man, if this guy was once this and became him, then I can become this. You know, I think that puts that type of on there. Now, I want to ask you this before I go into some more broader questions and discussions. When we first met, you were doing a lot of work on the unit when we came in contact with each other. Can you go into a little details about the organizing and well, I just ask you like that. What was the work that you had dedicated yourself to doing on the unit when we first came in contact with each other?
Right. Well, the work I had dedicated myself to doing was, I just wanted to, the ideal we wanted to do is it's kind of like turn the unit into like a Timbuktu. Because we had created all these circles of study and brother was, you know, building, enlightening. And actually, you know, dudes was like, you know, had classes where they was, you know, brother was in college and they was learning, you know, with other brothers how to pass the test in college. We had brothers that was helping dudes with their GED test, you know. We had brothers that had CDL books that was helping. So, you know, and that was just on the building that, you know, the wing that I was on, the way we was building. But to make a long story short, to get off into the major work, man, I was in the Muslim, I had got into the Muslim community at the time. And not to get off into a long drawn out thing to, I don't think a lot of people would understand that the prison dynamics, but the 5%ers as a group and the Orthodox Muslims, they didn't really see eye to eye because of ideologies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, in building inside there, man, we just saw an opportunity by which we can take some of the classrooms or the class sessions that we was allowed to have by the administration and transform them into classes by which we can get brothers to come down and learn and build. So it took a lot of convincing and using what me and Brother Syke was talking about, the Mastermind Alliance, to get brothers to understand the benefits of it and what we could do, you know, with the opportunity to have these classes and bring brothers down to and build with them. And through the help of the coordinator and brothers like Syke and other dudes, man, we had created a group called Universal Temple of Peace. And the whole concept of that was kind of like to neutralize all of the titles that we are, because everybody was something or part of something or building on something. But through this entity that we had built, all of us can come together as one and build. So we would, what we eventually did was we transformed.
And when you, and I want to make something clear, when you say all the different people that were building on something, you talk about ideology. You might have
Right.
Black Hebrew Israelites,
Yeah.
5%ers, Black
Right.
Panthers,
Right.
Mandingo Warriors, whatever. You
Right.
got all these different schools of builders.
Right.
And
We got more
whole-
science, like you
yeah.
said, more science Temple, Crip,
Yeah.
Blood, Pink Stone Rangers. You have all of them. You have Disciples. And then, like you say, with the cons, you got the Black Hebrew Israelites, 5%, Nation of Islam, Lost Foundation of Islam, a few Black Guerrilla Family, Mandingo. You know what I'm saying? All of these dudes, you know, we all wanted the same thing, far as to innerly to better ourselves and to use our resources, man, to transform the prison conditions into something better. And that is another thing, is to understand what we had done through an enlightened body of brothers wouldn't be difficult, but like what prison is, you know, in this everyday function on any other unit, and then comparing it to what we made prison out to be, or what we transformed prison into through these enlightened body of brothers. You know, it's like the difference between day and night, you know. But in doing that, we established it, man, and we had brothers, man, that would come in, and the idea was, I understand that everybody wasn't gonna be 5%ers. We know that everybody wasn't gonna be Black Panther Party or Mandingo Warriors or Nation of Islam, but all of us basically had a common goal and a common problem, you know, and all of us want to do something better with ourselves and use with all the betterment and education that we got to help our team and to better ourselves when we get out. So in doing that, man, brothers kind of chilled on the title, I'm this, that, and the other, and we started working together. And we created classrooms down there that like everybody, like these classrooms that we created, man, it kind of like was dropping a nuclear bomb on the unit, because we established to where we had classes for everything. We had, like, Brother Syke, you had a class, right?
Yeah.
And
One
that
of mine
was
one of the ones, I taught a few, but one of the ones I taught was remember we did I can't remember what we called it, but basically we did a financial
Summer Revolution.
Yeah, we did I did a revolutionary class too.
Yeah, you did that's what I'm saying. You did the so you did the revolutionary class. We had brothers that had business class where you actually were learning how to start a DBA, limited liability company, S corporation. You got brothers that had businesses in the world and that took businesses course and had not master's degree, but they had a bachelor's degree in business. They was actually teaching these classes. We also had brothers that was very profound in all nonprofit organization in how to run it,
Real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to ask a question because I want to make sure our listening audience understands. I would call it really the unification of, but it sounds like you're telling me is that regardless of what foundational school of thought anybody came from, there was a way to cohesively bring all of y'all together and get all of y'all to be able to absorb lessons from one another without there being a conflict within the base structure of how we all got to this place.
Right.
And so just in saying that, I think it's just really important that folks that watch the video gravitate around the fact that in itself, and I know you simply touched on it in the left, but to me, that in itself is stating a whole lot, because the foundation of being able to bring people together in an environment to where we are all willing to learn from one another, to me says a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I did want to at least mention that.
Yeah, I mean that really was the nucleus of the ideal, because it was like, you know, even in the Muslim community, you know, you got this brother, he Orthodox Islam, you know, and we talking in this, you know, you this, I'm that, and you got this brother, he this, and he brother, but the idea that I was trying to convey to them was that all of these titles that we have is becoming a hindrance to the progress that we can make. You know, all of these titles are a hindrance to the progress that we can make. We all really want the same thing, and everybody got something that the other one need. Like, you know, like in prison, you got this dude, he is in food service and people want food. You got this person over here in maintenance and they want access to maintenance. You got this brother, he over here and he got this job, this brother in visitation. You know what I'm saying? That's the physical dynamics in prison, however. Then you got brothers that want to, and all of the resources, you got brothers that want to learn. You know what I'm saying? But you can't learn because you heard that psych used to be this and you a blood, or you heard this brother was this and you're a Christian and you can't, you know, that was the problems that we was dealing with. But, you know, by us stepping out of the box first, you know, and introducing the idea, other brothers, you know, had the courage to step out of the box and say, hey man, you know, what's up, what you want to do? I'm down, let's make it happen. And from that, that's what we end up formulating, which allowed us to develop, you know what I'm saying, the UTOP and the classes that we had in there, and which allowed brothers now that once we knocked down all those barriers, you know, you had brothers that would, you know, Muslims that would sit down and allow a Christian brother to teach him, because the Christian brother had came from the free world with a master's degree in business. You know what I'm saying? You had brothers that, you know, the titles was knocked down. We was all in there trying to learn, build, and elevate ourselves to another level. And that's something that nobody have ever seen on a unit, you know, what we was able to do. And we had accumulated so much influence on the unit. You know, even with the guards, man, I was able to get it to where we can have brothers to go to education and have a whole classroom when we watch videos, we watch movies, you know. That was kind of like a little reward for the brothers and with the work that they was doing on the blocks and bringing brothers to the Talim service, for which we had developed the UTOP classes. And yeah, me myself.
I want to add this. I want to add this because I want the listening audience to understand the skillful strategy that had to go into that, because prison doesn't allow you to go into a separate classroom and watch American Gangster. They don't allow that, you know. So for that to take place meant that the influence was extremely powerful, and in order to be able to maneuver the pieces the way they needed to be able to maneuver for that to happen. Even the classes themselves, when I was teaching revolutionary classes, when other brothers were teaching business classes, when Pharaoh taught the Afrocentric study course, that's not approved by the unit. The prison administration doesn't approve that. We had the prison administration thinking we were doing something else religious, and then we did that with it. So strategic movements and alliances had to be made in order to make those things happen.
Right, and like you said, like Brother Ward was saying, and that one thing, man, that we was able to remove the title for a common cause. And when they seen the strength and the power of it, you know, brothers that's really getting together, making it happen, man, it just opened up doors, man, for everything that we wanted to do, you know, everything that we wanted to do. But we used that power, man, to educate brothers, man, to lighten brothers. And right now today, I know it happened for Psych, man. I can go into, I done been in like grocery stores or Trailers Village, man, and I see brothers that we was building with when they get out, you know, showing their appreciation for what they learned, you know, asking about me or asking about Brother Psych or asking about a mirror. Do he still got, they want to know if we still got classes. You know, y'all still doing it. We y'all building that, man. So in my struggle, like I say, man, in my journey through in prison and you know, and building that was the thing that was I want to say like the highlight moments of building in prison and being able to do that. You know, that was kind of that's what all of my studying led me up to, and that's actually the conclusion of my studies. I mean, that's the conclusion that I've come to in my theory of the solution for the Afrocentric struggle, you know. And one of those solutions, what I consider solution to be is that, you know, men have to come to the black conscious men have to come to the awareness that no one person can do it, no one organization can do the things we know we need to do for the whole. You know, and to think that that's, you know, and see how things is just an error in your mind, you know, because there's no one size fit all with the one size fit all organization for all Black people, because everybody got something different and everybody got different talents and skills and ability, and they are attracted to certain things, you know. But being that they're attracted to certain things and want certain things, all of these are just components needed and necessary to build, you know what I'm saying, the motor that we're trying to build to get us to where we're trying to go, you know? So, in that, that's the solution, and that's even now what I'm working on, and that's actually even in the world and what's going on. Like a lot of people are talking about what's happening with Ukraine and Russia and America, but what people really not talking about is what the Chinese is doing. You know what I'm saying? And the Chinese is doing the same thing that we talked about, you know, just on a major level with the cooperation that they have created, the Shanghai Cooperation. And the Shanghai Cooperation is about different leaders of nations all over coming together, you know what I'm saying, for a common cause of advancing themselves. You know, and the Chinese people have set this up, and they're understanding the benefits of developing cooperations, you know what I'm saying? Having this autonomous entity that can come into a body of other autonomous entities to create a superstructure by which people don't have to lose the identity of what they are, you know what I'm saying, to be a part of a power force. And that power force is the connections and the resources they're able to get from each other and respecting each other, but there is no head, you know, like a corporation. The cooperation acts more like a starfish, where the corporation acts more like a spider with a head. You cut the head off, you know what I'm saying, then the spider dies. But the cooperation acts more like the starfish. You cut a limb of the starfish back. I mean, you cut the limb of a starfish off, and the limb grows back, because that's the way that it is. That's the structure of it, and that's the ideology behind the cooperation. You know, so the things that we was thinking and the idea that we're on, actually, that's what the whole world is moving to, because, you know, we're trying to get out of the, you know, even though we have all these titles, but a lot of this stuff, you know what I'm saying, is psychologically, you know, programmed into us and fed to us by the divide and conquer, you know, methods that's being used by the colonizer. You know what I'm saying? And if they can keep you constantly divided, you'll never be able to get past that, come together and move out. I mean, that's become like one of the number one stagnant, you know, thing amongst conscious brothers and conscious organization, is not being able to come together and just wrestling at this one point while everybody else is moving forward, you know?
Sure indeed, sure indeed. I can agree with that. I think that kind of spoke to War a lot, because, you know, that's War's whole ideal. That's actually, I think, and I don't want to speak for War on this, but I kind of believe that's War's mission. That's one of the things that he would love to see before, you know, he's no longer able to do revolutionary work, is to see it at the minimum, all different groups that call themselves Panthers in some kind of way be able to operate in that cooperative type of existence that you were just talking about with the Shanghai operation. You know? Right. But now I want to ask you this, then we're gonna go on and build on a more open level. I want to ask you this, because you talked about the UTOP, so we might as well go on and close this prison thing on down, and okay, we're gonna be 100% honest about it. So, like I said, we had to we classrooms. Y'all had hijacked the classrooms, started the education classes, even had side note classes for entertainment for the rewarding of the brothers that put in the work for those classes, for teaching the brothers in the unit. Yeah. And even at times, you didn't bring this up, rewarded the unit, because as long as brothers participated in classes, was it every 3 months, or was it once a month? Was it once a month? Okay, once a month we'd have Brotherhood Night, which was the entertainment show. It was an open mic show where brothers rapped. We discovered some of the best brothers on the unit, where brothers rapped, brothers did poetry. Roderick, he used to break dance, didn't it? But you know, and keep in mind, all of these things are not legal in prison to do. No. But you got 100 people showing up to the school building to listen to G-Town rap. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question. So with all of that activity, and obviously I can't see how it can be quiet in there sounding like
it was loud.
No, it was loud.
So how the prison guards didn't pick up on what y'all were doing?
And see, and now they did pick up on what we were doing. It's just kind of like we bought them out.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my question. How y'all could have kept all that a secret, all this?
Yeah. But because the way they would do it is that, and that was one of the nice things, is that none of the prison guards, most of the white supremacy-minded prison guards, wanted to have anything to do with Muslims. So they would always get somebody to, you know, to be the supervisor of the
school building.
Of the school building, to let somebody that they feel like we can cooperate with, because we done gave them so much trouble in the past. But
it was black prison guards at that point?
Yeah, it was black prison.
So in saying that, is it that basically what we finally getting to at this point is, even though y'all are prisoners, and they're the prison guards, there was a sense of humanity. And when they saw what y'all were doing, that touched them from the standpoint of humanity, and they saw brothers and sisters, or not sisters, obviously, because y'all in the male prison, but they saw brothers actually being inspired by one another, and that touched them enough to where they left y'all alone.
Right. Not so, and it touched them, and it also scared them. And what I mean by it is scared them, because you just got to look at both sides. Yeah, it did touch them, and and it's some, but it's some of them, you know what I'm saying, that we offered them benefits, you know, and the benefit of coordinating with us was that, you know, they didn't have trouble when they went back to the building. Because, you know, we talking about some units where, you know, guards actually have big problem trying to maintain or control a situation. A fight broke out, a riot about to break out. You know what I'm saying? They have problems. You got to deal with this dude, and this dude is over here. He enslaved, he's slanging shit, piss, and, you know, there's certain things that they couldn't deal with.
Gotcha.
You know?
And basically, by that being a job, at the end of the day, I wanna be able to do my work,
right,
you know, in peace and go home without being frustrated, possibly losing my life,
right,
or losing my job. I get it.
Right.
Cool.
And the one thing that they knew, that there was about 3 people on this unit that if I talk to about it, I can get the problem resolved real quick. You know what I'm saying? You got brothers like Pharaoh, you got brothers like Sight, you got brothers like Amir. You see what I'm saying? So in that, we was able to, you know, level the influence that we had on the unit to, like, you know what I'm saying, if they work with us, we would work with them. Not here in Thailand on the building. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just the fear of the fact is just as easy, as hard as it was for us to convince these brothers to change their life, you know what I'm saying, to want better for themselves. It'll be just that easy, man, to make them go off. You know what I'm saying?
That's basically
it'll be just that easy for us to shut the whole unit down.
To me, it basically sounds like the story of like Fred Hampton in terms of what he was thinking.
I'm for real. Just like that, you can walk down the hall and turn my thumb upside down, and every unit, every building on the unit will go up in flames. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it, we wasn't about that. You know what I'm saying? We used the power that we had for peace, man, and we used the power we had for elevation. But don't get it twisted, because everybody that was in that group was solid, man. You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing that amazed the administration. The administration is like the government, is that the caliber of brothers that was coming down there to study. And Psych always kept high caliber brothers around him, you know. And, you know, with that, man, we was able to move mountains, man.
Appreciate that, brother.
All right, so we talking about the classroom, and we broke that down. Now, it did become a time when we lost the classroom.
Right.
When it was lost, and
right.
and we don't even have to tell y'all how it was lost. y'all know history. I know y'all have studied enough history of the movement of revolution, from Nat Turner to whatever. You done studied enough to pretty much know what happened.
Informant.
No, you got that right.
Yes. The Judas and the Black Messiah. Yeah.
The jealous, you had brothers that was in the community that was so jealous of what we were doing, but they couldn't do anything on the unit to stop what we was doing. Matter of fact, if you even spoke about it in the wrong way, it would be problems, you know? So the only way the brother felt like, this particular brother that was the coordinator, is that he wrote a letter. He started writing letters to the imam in the world. they corresponded. He would come. What's the brother, old school brother name?
I ain't gonna tell on the brother.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I ain't gonna tell on him.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna say, but he wanted to be the head. He kept on writing these letters, and then one of the things is that he couldn't, everything that he wrote about us, it was really nothing that the imam wanted to do. But the one thing that he knew that the imam didn't like, he didn't like any kind of revolutionary teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Well, tell me this. So in regards to you, Pharaoh, in regards to Brother Syke, and was it just y'all two that was the primary leadership, or within the leadership body, how did y'all maintain y'all's unity amongst each other when I know y'all had to have people up under y'all that didn't know any better, and from time to time would actually, just out of dysfunctionality habit, try to actually get one of y'all to be above each other? You know what I'm saying? Instigate y'all to have a beef with one another.
One of the things that what we do and what we did with the in the UTOP, one in the universal concepts, is that we created with a mastermind alliance, which was basically a council of all the brothers on the unit that was recognized, you know, and all these brothers on the unit that was recognized, we created a council body with them, and certain brothers that was heads of anything, we was a circle, you know what I'm saying, kind of like a round table. And we, separate from the meetings with the UTOP and teaching classes and Talim service, I had another class strictly for us. And that was the thing that kind of kept us on the same page and opened up lines of communication for us. And it wasn't the hierarchy of it wasn't like, you know, captain, lieutenant, nothing like that. It was basically just like knights at the round table, man. And if we brought you to the table, we brought you to the table because that was a certain influence or group of people or something, resource that you had that was, you know, beneficial to the body, you know. And when we brought them to the table, we all sit down and we all talked about our problems together, what we needed to do, what's the best way to do it. All of us is like, we tackled the problem like a group tackling. If it was something we was doing in Talim service, and we all talked about it and we tackled the problem. It was something on the unit that needed to be done, all of us got in. You know what I'm saying? Or whoever had the better idea, we aided and assisted them. But it was having that being able to establish that table of brothers that was just agreed to just be universal. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna tell you something else. A couple of things, elements that I think makes that work so well is that because you know we value knowledge, and we had our little metaphors for certain things like debating. E loves to debate and argue. That's E's thing. We call that cutting heads off. If you won a debate, or if you was able to attack a person's philosophical foundation to the point of just completely breaking it apart, we call that cutting his head off, like the Highlander. You know? Yeah. And your knowledge and your ability to utilize your knowledge or express it through words was your sword. You know, yeah, and you know, and so you was the builder himself was like a warrior, and that's what we value. But to make a point. See, and Pharaoh and I said this a long time ago, you know, brothers know where to go when they have problems. And when it came to serious problems, anything legal or anything that your fist couldn't punch its way through, brothers knew who they needed to come to find solutions for those problems. And when that exists, then that particular group and that particular council is extremely respected. Also, it's an understanding that you don't influence everything. To give a good example of that, I personally didn't have power over the Bloods. I personally couldn't influence the Bloods, but the people who had the greatest amount of influence on the Bloods had love for me. And there was times that connection that we had is what was able to allow me through those brothers to influence the Bloods, even though I personally didn't have any influence over the Blood organization. I even had one time where, just a quick story, I had one time cause before we got fully established, and what I was to talk about after the classrooms were lost, you know, the conscious man really didn't have a table to build at. And prison tables are like states. They like having land. And basically the major gangs are the only things that really have tables. You know what I'm saying? They're the only thing that really have control over tables. And so one of the first things that became was for conscious people to have a table to sit at and build at, for this to become a norm. And eventually it did, but in the beginning it wasn't. And it was times that you could be sitting at a table and another group had failed the fence to that. And I had a situation where the Bloods failed the fence at me being at a table. And I ain't fit to get into the long drawn out story and try to make myself sound tough, because the truth is there's nowhere in the world I could have beat up that group of Bloods. It couldn't have happened. But I addressed them having a problem with me being at a table. And the way I addressed it made them come into an entire meeting on whether or not they wanted to put a hit on me or not. I wanted to deal with me the way they wanted to deal with me, but they couldn't, because the dudes that they had to take that through wasn't trying to hear it. The brothers that had the greatest amount of influence over that group in the prison said that's a no-no, that's a no good, that's a no-go. So my point is, I never thought or foolishly believed that I had influence over the Crips or influence over the Bloods. But the brothers that did have that influence was my closest brothers, and they had much love for me, and therefore that their influence became my influence and vice versa. And that thing was able to move in that way. And with I don't think that we ever because I never did think about who's the leader or who's the one in control. When it came to the Talim thing and the strategic organizing of that, you have to say 100% Pharaoh did that, because they already had that going on when I showed up on the unit. And I saw what those brothers were doing, and I became a part of that, you know, and never tried, because as he just told you, it was actually being performed under the Muslim rights to the religious assembly, because the administration wouldn't allow us to just say, hey, we want to go down there and do some studies and teachings on African history and culture and revolutionary ideas. Administration would have been like, oh, hell no. But you know, you had to find a way to subvert what the prison was going on. And I ended up calling that later guerrilla education, that the builder takes on any face, any shape, any form that he has to in order to get the knowledge out. He makes that transformation when he needs to and if he needs to. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're going on with that. We moved in through the Islamic community. And that's why Pharaoh was explaining how the Judas who came in under the guise that I'm a real Muslim, and it wasn't even nothing to do with him being a Muslim. Because we wasn't against brothers being Muslims, you know, like he just told you, everybody was down there, from Christian to Muslim to whatever they were. They was down there because they wanted to grow and they wanted to learn. And sometime, and here's the truth, this is the truth. Sometimes they was just down there because, you know, you live on different buildings. And that was allowed you to come together and talk to your homeboy who you usually don't get to sit with and chop it up with. But when they got down there, we displayed the knowledge so well that they stopped talking to their homeboy and started listening to the dialogue. They started listening to the conversation. I even had one brother tell me, I had hundreds of brothers over the years, but I had one brother tell you two things. Two brothers told me. One brother told me, he came to me, he walked up and he said, "This what y'all talk about down here?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "From now on, I'm gonna start coming down here every Friday," or whatever day it was that we were doing it. He said, "I'm gonna come down here." I had another brother named G-Town. The brother I said was one of the best rappers on the unit. That brother came to me, he said, "You know what I am, brother?" I said, "What?" He said, "I'm a revolutionary. I've always been a revolutionary and didn't even know I was a revolutionary." You know, but that's just coming down there to sit with their friends and then end up hearing the things that's being said and stated and talked about. But
that and just to add on to that, man, that was some times, man, that at the peak of our renaissance and enlightenment on the unit, we had certain brothers that was in the gang leaders, especially like some disciples and some Peace Stone brothers and Christian Bloods made it to where there's certain dudes on the unit that certain dudes that was in their group, well, not certain dudes, all dudes that was available in their group had to go down there and study, or it would be a violation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We went we went from fighting them, not physically fighting them, but dealing with them on trying to get brothers from their group to come down here and get them, because they had to get permission. Gang leaders, they have control over their group. If they don't want their group to go down there and they put out the word, there ain't nobody going down there. So if somebody wanted to better themselves or elevate themselves and he went down there, they had a problem with it. So after we was talking to them and building with them, and like Brother Syke was saying, giving them an example of what we were doing, it turned around and it became a violation that if any of them was available and they went down here helping us or listening to some shape, fashion, or form, they was gonna get it. I just want to add that on to what you were saying, Syke.
Yeah, no doubt. And also to add to it, when the classrooms were lost, the building didn't stop. We all came together and we made a decision. That's when the Uhuru Shule came up. Right. We all came together. I want to say the first minds that actually was saying this, where it was a brother named Sheik. He was basically the speaker and the head of the GDs down there, of the gangster disciples.
Black disciples.
Yeah. He was a black disciple himself, and he was the speaker for the folks.
Folks.
That's right. Yeah, he was head of all the folks. Well, when the school building got shut down, he was one of the first ones that would stop me and he would stop Pharaoh and be like, we need to start something. We need to start building on something. And like Pharaoh was saying earlier, that these different jobs gave you different access. And so his job, he was a mobile barber. As a barber on the unit, you had this barber card and you were able to move through every building on the entire unit. So, he would come to us and tell us, we need to start back up. We need to do something. So me and Pharaoh came together. Me, Pharaoh, Brother J-Mo were down for it too, and Brother Sheik was stressing it. But Pharaoh and I came over with the idea that we basically need to create study groups on the building and try to spread these study groups all over the unit. On every building, we wanted it to be a study group. And so we had to start where we was at. And that's when we started, unfolded the Uhuru Shule, the Liberation School in Swahili. We unfolded that and created the format for the Uhuru Shule based off of the foundation of 5% teachings and Black Panther ideology. We set together, one of the first things we did is I gave Pharaoh the 10-point platform and Pharaoh gave me the Supreme Mathematics. And we learned them and built on them. I had to learn the Supreme Mathematics. He had to learn the 10-point platform and break down. He started reading Panther books and information, and I started studying and building on 5% lessons. So that when we came together and ended up producing educational system, it'll be more universal. And then an example, one of the ideas is because of Pharaoh's 5% background, he said, well, we need to create something that they have to learn and basically like the Supreme Mathematics. But what it was chosen was the 10 virtues of a student. And we took that, and brothers had to memorize that and spit that back just to start the class. As y'all know, the 10th, the last one is preparedness for initiation. So when you get 10 down, you ain't mastered nothing. You just earned the right to participate, you know. And we just, we started building from there. One of the first places, me, Pharaoh, we was on the same building, and there was a few other brothers, and we all came together and we started the very first study group on the wing. But I said all that because it would end up spreading to the point where we free, and this dude's down there still teaching this stuff right now today. I'm still getting hit up right now today on Messenger and things. Brother, can you send me the 10 virtues again? When we gonna start back building, brother, and things like this, But go ahead, brother. Go ahead, E. I recognize.
I'm finna go.
Oh.
So that's that's love and that's respect. And again, I mentioned that in one of our conference calls that, it's impressive to see brothers exact their will on the system and essentially make the system work for them, made the state their employees in a sense. So no disrespect to that, no, disregard, no, shoving it away or nothing. But I gotta be E. I gotta be me, and I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. And what I got to say is, so what? What is on the table for the great brother Syke and Pharaoh, the dynamic duo, the tag team, back again, checked it, directed, all of that, whatever that shit goes. I don't remember that shit, but whatever it is, I want to know going forward, should we expect to see anything, whether it's, on the channel, whether it's setting it up through Facebook or Patreon or some of these other platforms, to continue the growth and development of the seeds that you all, because essentially from what I've gotten from both of y'all is that y'all scattered some seeds in a particular spot, and now a lot of those seeds have gone to the wind and spread out, and those seeds are still wanting to grow. So now that you've planted these plants, what are the plans to further cultivate and continue those seedlings blossoming in whatever way they're going to go? Yes, I'm calling you out.
Well,
sorry, Pharaoh, it's your first time with us, but I'm gonna be me. I'm calling y'all out.
That's what we need, man. That's needed. I'm glad you said it.
It ain't where you from, it's where you at. What the fuck you doing? I want to know. Because I'll tell you, I ain't doing shit. As far as classes and shit, I'm gonna just tell you straight up. I'm outside of what we do here. I got rabbits. I'm gonna get chickens. I got my garden. This is my, my going down the road. But so just, what y'all got? And I'm not asking for any details because, we don't put all our business out there like that. But just what can sisters and brothers that are seeing this and they're inspired, these are, Pharaoh and Syke are basically true life Malcolm X's for us to build on and to pull off of. What can we expect to for you all to offer to the people?
You want to speak on that?
Well, that was the inspiration for me starting my YouTube channel, and what made me want to start the YouTube channel. And that was also inspiration for me coming with you brothers and helping build this channel as well, because I still believe in that teachings, and a lot of those brothers, when they ask me, what can they get their lessons, this and that, I send them the links to the YouTube channel. However, on another note, I realized that part of the things that made those brothers strong is that they had somebody to hold them accountable. And I think some of that becomes important because there are all brothers, everybody not success stories, there are brothers who I went back to prison. And like one brother, I ain't gonna necessarily say his name, I love the brother to death, True Soldier. His wife reached out to me on Facebook, and she told me that pretty much I feel like I know you, and I've never met you, because all he do is talk about you. And she said you was like a father figure to him because he never had a male participate in his life in that way. And anyway, to get to the point, what I'm getting to now is it made me feel like I had failed the brother, because what the brother needed, he needed what Malcolm had. Malcolm was able to walk out of prison into the nation, and that kept him foundated on what he was doing and building while in prison. And a lot of times you without a doubt, you need that. There's a parable in a scripture in the biblical text that says, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but the root of the parable is that a person cast a demon out of a person, but the person didn't put anything new in themselves. And so the demon came back and found the house empty, and he brought 6 more demons with him. So when you cast that lack of knowledge or that ignorance out of a person, you got to keep providing and filling them with knowledge. You got to keep providing them with instruction. That brother walked out of prison after being in a situation where, because it wasn't just the mental building. One of the things that I also did, one of my major things was I would train the brothers as well. So the brothers that was into physical training, not only did we build in the classroom, but we also hit the rec yard and we trained. And so this brother here he was physically trained, disciplining his body. He was studying, reading the books. He was constantly around this consciousness all day long, and it was easy for him to stay conscious while he was surrounded by that. Then he walked out of prison and went to his small town, and it wasn't there, and he was looking for it. He didn't see it. He couldn't find it. You know what I'm saying? And then the brother ended up going back to prison. So I said all that to say this, that one of the things that I tapped Pharaoh about was assisting me and basically reorganizing and reinstitute the Huru Shule. Basically, because the Huru Shule was basically a manhood development class. That was the ideal of it. And the ideal was based on the fact that how do you create and produce supreme manhood? How do you get manhood to its highest level? And I ain't talking about no mediocre level, and I'm not talking about any materialistic standards of manhood. When you hear about a man, he pays all the bills. I ain't talking about that nonsense either. I'm talking about a man at his supreme highest conscious level. How do you get him now? You know what I'm saying? And that's what the Huru Shule was organized for. And one of the things Pharaoh was telling me earlier that I think is essential to understand. One of the things he was saying was, why do we focus on manhood? He said for the same reason that the slave master focused on removing manhood. He was breaking down that the slave master focused his attention first and foremost on destroying the image and the ideal of manhood, because the man is supposed to be considered the protector. A child supposed to have two births, and the first birth supposed to be from his mother, but his second birth supposed to be from his father, through the things that his father teaches him. And so if you take a people and bring them into a captive position in slavery, and then there's no way man can operate as man. And as Brother Pharaoh said earlier, there is no black alpha male on the slave plantation, because he's not allowed to be alpha. He's not allowed to operate the way he is meant naturally to operate. And to make sure that he didn't even try to, sometimes the slave masters would even rape him in front of the entire slave community, so that they would even have the inkling of an idea that they was looking at a whole man when they looked at some of their strongest warriors. You know what I'm saying? So that was the idea behind understanding the need to put the man back together, to bring him back together, to piece him back together, and to teach him the things needed to elevate to his high stage of manhood. So we're going to recreate and then start redistributing those type of classes through Zoom calls like this one. And many of it will be dropped on the channel. Many of them will be dropped, the class will be dropped on the channel, but brothers and now their sisters, their wives, their daughters can participate in the class online if they want to participate in that type of growth. Because one of the things I'm realizing about being out here is why we recognize the need for boys to make that step, that progression toward manhood. There's a lot of these sisters that's fighting and warring with this dismembered male that want to understand how to help their sons or how to help their babies' fathers and whatever be moved to this manhood. So they would watch this type of information or participate in this class as well, in these type of classes as well. So that is on the table. That is what me and the brother have been building on and starting the process of reorganizing right now.
Right.
Does that answer your question, brother?
I guess it do.
And let me say this, and I've said this to you before, and we always know that Brother War is the final puppeteer that puts the strings on your back and pulls you out of retirement, even when you thought you was in Florida chilling. Brother War is never gonna just sit back and let us do what we want to do. He'll make us think we do what we want to do, and next thing we know, we'll be organizing an entire YouTube channel with him and teaching again. But one of the things we got to realize is, and that was a shot at you, boy. One of the things we got to realize is that, and I truly believe this. I'm a true believer in this. And you said it last week. I think it's, what is it, number 5 on the platform? But is that number 5? Hold on. I'm supposed to get into some Panther stuff right quick.
Depends on which platform. If you talk about dealing with knowing our history.
Yeah. Let me look at this here. Hell, I think it's number 5 on all of them, ain't it? I could be wrong. Let me look. I got a platform right here.
I thought it was number 6.
It's number 6. Let's see.
I don't know.
You supposed to know this stuff here. You was the minister of information for 1,000,000 years. How the hell you don't know?
Yeah.
Let me look. No, it's number 5. I know what I was talking about. Don't do that. Don't ever question me again. On all, yeah. Number 5, we want education. We want education for our people that expose the true nature of this decading American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in present day to society. We believe in an educational system that will give to our people a knowledge of self. If a man does not have knowledge of himself and his position in society and the world, then he has little chance to relate to anything else. See, last week you said that was your favorite point on the platform.
That's
and
right.
And truthfully, it's one of my favorite points as well, in all honesty. And I believe that's the key to everything. I believe that point is the key to everything, because you can't even really do none of the other points unless you have that point, that education. You know what I'm saying? And so even though all you do now is these YouTube channels, if somebody learn from this, then you're actually doing the work, because it all starts in the mind. There's nothing that we can look around and see that didn't start with the mind, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm going to go into this though, because y'all getting all the way off track. I'm going to go into this. One time before in
it's 7:27.
Yeah. I'm about to bring this to a close for many practical reasons. But one time before, and we just talked about the ability to move around in prison the way that we were, even though these things was outlawed in prison. And one of the things that we built on, and one of the major points that you'll see in the Uhuru Shule is the concept of freedom and the free world. In prison, they talk a lot about the free world. Everybody want to get out of prison. And so when they talk about the free world, they talking about coming back to society. But one of the things that is not hard to realize when you're sitting in prison is that when you was out there, your world wasn't so free. There was something wrong with your world, because if it wasn't, then you wouldn't be sitting in prison. So it's something about your quote unquote free world that led you to prison. So the whole idea was about getting free. And and to us, freedom meant different things. So before we get ready to close for the night, I want to ask you brothers to give y'all definition of freedom, y'all ideal of freedom, or how y'all see freedom.
I start off with that.
And maybe we can come back on another bill on another time and fit. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, and come back on another time and build on some other things. But I want to close it off with this freedom definition and concept. But go ahead, War.
I was going to just first talk about it from the individual standpoint, because to me, you have to recognize it within yourself first. But I believe those come in stages. First aspect is recognizing the recognition of attachments, and then learning our relationship to these attachments. And then the third aspect is the ability to be at peace without the attachments. And then the final phase here comes with the release of our attachments. And the important part of that whole transformation has to do with the fact that you have to recognize what attachments are, because attachments could be anything. What are we talking about? Physical, psychological, emotional, or just our original foundation, which kind of goes into what the Pharaoh was talking about when he was talking about people do what they do to survive, because that goes into our standard position of where we are within our own internal recognition of life. Because when you talked about survival to somebody that's already on an initiated path, then basically what that means is self-mastery over the environment from which they are in tune with. Whereas when you talk about somebody that is unvintage, or don't have the wisdom of harvest, then their whole position is basically how to go about grabbing that breadcrumb before the next person do. So one is a perspective of an eagle, and the other one is perspective of a roach. So freedom first has to be recognized again as from an individual standpoint of knowing what attachments are and being able to come into a form of self-discipline in order to gain a higher level of those attachments. And then as we move into the aspect of social awareness as it applies to freedom, then we start dealing with the mobility of social interaction. And then in addressing social interaction within the next person or the next vessel, now we start basically talking about how can we develop a collective awareness that's going to bring us to a position of being able to tackle and address individuals that choose to embody concepts of oppression over a collective group of people.
All right, I appreciate that, brother. No doubt. Pharaoh, you got anything to build on that freedom concept?
Yeah. You know, with us, freedom is compound. It's freedom. You know what I'm saying? And the first freedom got to come from you freeing your mind. And from you freeing your mind, you have to have a full knowledge of self. Because when you don't have a knowledge of self and you really don't know who and what you are, you don't even know if you are oppressed. A lot of people, you can tell them that, hey, you can talk freedom to you and they're gonna look at you crazy because in their mind, they are already free. You know, they'll look at conscious brothers like us as stupid because they think they're free, but they'll think they're free because they're deaf, dumb, and blind to the reality that they're living in, and they're deaf, dumb, and blind to the knowledge of themselves and who and what they are and their position in this world that they are. Our position in the world today. So our position in this world today as conscious Black men, this is the thing that we have to be aware of in order for us to take our position, you know. And that comes through enlightening them or making them aware. Like we can enlighten, I believe that enlightening, you cannot enlighten a person. A person have to accept that light and bring it up. I can only make him aware, you know what I'm saying, of knowledge of the situation, of history, our potentials, and what we are able to do in the circumstances and everything around us and everything that makes us free, all the elements of science of self and knowledge of self, we can make them aware of that, but they have to accept it. They have to accept it, internalize it, and become it. And in accepting and internalizing and becoming, that takes an act of courage, because certain people know that, you know, they don't want to suffer they feel like it's a consequence to being conscious, the public backlash and all this, that, and the other. So basically, coming back to the foundation, what I was saying about free the dome, you have to be able to free the mind, man, to see who and what you are and your potentials. And when you are able to do that, you're able to free everything around you. You know what I'm saying? But you cannot, you cannot free your community, your society, your people if you have not truly freed yourself from inside.
True indeed, true indeed. I can go for that 100%. Let's see what Ephes come with. He got that look on his face.
This is the way I look, man. Damn. Nah, for me at this point in life, freedom is taking on aside from the more mundane, the revolutionary perspectives and Malcolm and Huey and all Sister Asada, she said, you're asking me what freedom is. I can tell you what freedom ain't, because I've never been free. So for me, it's evolved to a more, I won't say that. At this point for me, freedom is the ability to express one's real self. It's even, this whole idea that we got to go get freedom, we got to fight freedom, we got to da-da-da-da-da. For me at this point, freedom is something to be accepted. If you're free, it's because you act free. If you're free, it's because you behave free. You carry yourself in the way that free men carry themselves, free women carry themselves. If that means that your freedom runs up against someone who wants to oppress it, you deal with it the way a free person does. And life or death, that's what it is. It's like freedom of speech. Nobody can give you that or take it away. In this society, in this reality, this culture, when people say freedom of speech, what they're really saying is the ability to say whatever they want to say without consequence. And that's nonsense. Freedom, as we're talking about it, has its consequences. So living free has its consequences. Sometimes it's death, sometimes it's life. But the reality of it is, freedom is something that we simply have to accept. And building on what Pharaoh was saying along those same lines, everybody, most people will say, yeah, I'm free because we've been given this definition of being able to buy CDs and go to this grocery store or have that job and go to a college and not realizing and seeing what oppression actually is, what it looks like. So we have this definition that somebody else has given us, you know, not having that wherewithal, that awareness, that knowledge, that understanding that freedom ain't the same to every group of people. For white people, freedom is going around the world and slaughtering everybody and not having to worry about it. For African people, it's us building and connecting because we define ourselves through one another. So when, even in our oppression, we define each other through each other. You know, we get our nicknames from people in the community. You know, they call us these names because this is the way we put in on it. But I didn't choose Brother E. That's what y'all started calling me. You know, so these our identities are intricately tied to others. So that freedom, that acting as a free people for African people, is an expression of that coming together. So for me, in my mind, expressing that self, that awareness, that who we are, freedom is something that simply has to be accepted like anything else. Our search for freedom keeps getting in the way of our freedom. Just accept that we're free because we want to be free, because we choose to be free, because we are free, and there it is.
You know, I'm not even gonna give my definition because that was good. You probably wrote that down and read it, taped it behind you and read it because that was too good. Every time I think about kicking you out of the Panther 48, you do something that impresses me. Every single time. And for the listening audience that don't know, I'm just joking. But
no, you're not. No, you're not.
Let me break down something and add to that real quick, because I want to make sure you recognize the difference between freedom and indulgence. Because oftentimes what is expressed, people think they're expressing as freedom, is really an indulgence.
True indeed.
When you feel like you got the ability to go and drink all the liquor you want, eat all the ice cream you want, smoke all the cigarettes you want, or just go consume all you want, you are actually dealing with the concept of gaining more and more attachments, which is in essence the opposite of freedom, which goes back to enslavement. The environment we live in actually fortifies the idea of indulgence. And indulgence has replaced people's perception of what freedom means. And because of that, having the ability to just go around and consume, which just feeds the industrial complex and feeds the beast from that standpoint, you know, as it has to do with imperialism and capitalism, you are really not addressing freedom at all. What you are addressing are attachments. Sure. And so often our people, because of their association with attachments, look at attachments as being freedom. And whereas freedom is actually being able to not have the want and the desire to go around and collect attachments and collect and constantly gravitate things towards you and just have this mentality of whether it be mental, physical, or psychological hoarding and just constantly just hoarding and bringing things together. Those are indulgence. So I did want to make that.
True indeed. We've been getting ready to close out, but I want to let the listening audience know this. I love that breakdown you gave on freedom. You impressed me. Every time I look around, you want to get the sound bite. You know, I'm gonna take a profound part of the video and let that be the first part to get people's attention. He want to grab the sound bite. But one reason I wanted to do the video with Brother Pharaoh and break down a lot of the brothers coming into consciousness, and I want the listening audience to understand this, is to be able to understand and know that a person can go through hell and come out right. A person can love knowledge so much that they can be willing to go through hell to come back right. The brother went to prison at 17 and he did 24 years in prison. And instead of doing that time the way the prison administrators organized it to make him do it, the brother did it, and not only raising his own consciousness, but raising the consciousness of others. Now he's out here in the society, able, free to build his own life the way he sees fit, married, brother, and still building and still being productive. And I think I wanted to listen to the audience to see that and see that story and understand that Detroit Red, no matter where you find him, can always become Malcolm X. Brother, I thank you for coming on the show. We're gonna have to have you back on again.
Sure.
We didn't get to go as long as we usually do because we all got to go slave tomorrow. But this is your Panther 48. Peace and power.
War about suicide, haters decapitate them, Jesus couldn't save them. Busting heads, Judas bled, asked the neighbors, red paper said you dead. Concrete for me, I gotta see it. Take your last breather, I'm your keeper. Street sweeper, garlic and reefer. All I need, one of these and enemies to complete my ritual secret. I'm bringing crossbones, I want the throne. Now tell me about this and I missed it. Busy in the temple with the mystic stars, the line, spirit flying different. Haters suffer my talent, challenge, lose your head. Nation balance, Warcraft, sky mouth, the ball lord, lost that bloodbath. You know better than a stillborn deformed embryo when a toilet bowl, ridiculous. I jack senseless from sensitive, then I finish shit. Chainsaw, roll by low, never was what you thought. Never ever let me get on. Back with it, ain't been gone. They say a lot of hate in my zone. Artillery in place, you will know. Test sensei, I'm frozen by law, one of the coldest.